In your Ibexx clutch kit, you're going to have a primary clutch spring, a secondary clutch spring, an Ibexx Helix, a small case with the clutch flyweights and magnets, as well as a sticker and a card directing you to the install instructions. Then last, there will be a card showing other Ibexx products. Insert the screw part of the secondary spring compression tool and tighten it. Remove the small washer from the secondary. Slide on the rest of the compression tool and snug it up. Get your ratchet, extensions, and a T40 Torx bit. Thread the extension from the opposite side of the sled to the back of the secondary by going behind the chain case, underneath the water tank, and just above the fuel line. There is a steel support bracket on the opposite side. You want to be between that support bracket and the fuel tank. Insert the Torx bit into the bolt on the back of the secondary. Turn the clutch to line up the bolt if needed. Break the bolt loose with the ratchet. You can then take it the rest of the way with an impact. Always break it loose with a ratchet first. Then, rotate the secondary and remove the other 3 bolts. Start backing off the secondary collapse tool, expanding the secondary spring. Once it is backed off all the way, remove the Helix. Remove the secondary clutch spring. Then, with a small screwdriver or pick, remove the plastic ring from the Helix. Insert that plastic ring into the Ibexx Helix and push it into place with your fingers. Take the new secondary spring and place it on the secondary clutch. Place the Ibexx Helix on the secondary so that the rollers are against the ramp. This is not the ramp. This is the ramp that the rollers roll on. Slide the secondary compression tool back on. Make sure the helix is lined up so that you don't damage the bushing as it goes back together. This should go back together relatively easy. Compress the secondary all the way with the compression tool. Place a dab of red Loctite onto each helix bolt. Insert the bolt into the hole on the back of the secondary. Rotate the sheave as needed to align the threads. Then tighten and torque each bolt to factory specs. Once all bolts are installed, you can remove the secondary spring compression tool. Reinstall the steel ring and the belt deflection tool. This is the back of the deflection tool. This is the front of the deflection tool. Spin the deflection tool until it reaches the secondary clutch, and then leave it alone until we set the belt deflection when we reinstall the belt. Just inside the plastics by the primary clutch, there's a small clip that secures an access panel. Remove the clip and push out the access panel. Replace the clip to store it securely. Take a 13/16 12-point socket and remove the clutch bolt. Unscrew the first half, pull the bolt, and start the threads, then unscrew it the rest of the way. We have a trick that makes the primary clutch come off easy. Tip the sled on its side. Take the primary clutch puller and Teflon tape. Wrap the puller in a thick layer of Teflon tape. Take a bottle of water and pour it down the bolt hole on the clutch until it is full of water. Slide the clutch puller in and start it by hand. Take an impact with a 3/4 inch socket and screw it in as fast as you can. The clutch will pop off immediately. Now remove the primary clutch. Using a T40 Torx, remove the 6 bolts from the clutch cover. Insert the clutch puller into the backside of the clutch. Screw it in so it sticks out a little bit on the front. Place the clutch splitter on top. Line up the holes of the clutch splitter with the holes on the spider. Take the 6 Allen bolts that come with the clutch splitter and screw them all the way in until finger tight. Take a 15/16 socket and an impact, screw in the bolt, and split the clutch in half. Remove the clutch splitter and take off the cap. Place the clutch on a spring compression tool. Set the opening on the spring compression tool so that you can get to the snap ring that holds the primary spring in place. With the compression tool, compress the primary spring just enough so you can get to the snap ring. Using a screwdriver or pick, remove the snap ring. Unscrew the compression tool and decompress the primary spring. Pull the snap ring out, then pull out the spring and separate it from the spring cover. Remove the spider so you have access to the clutch flyweights. Using a T25 Torx, unscrew the flyweight bolt halfway. Using a hammer and the Torx as a punch so you don't wreck the bolt head, knock out the flyweight pin. Once you have gone as far as you can, unscrew the Torx a little further, being sure to not screw it all the way out. Then hit it again until the pin comes loose and you can pull it out. You may need pliers to pull it out. We recommend you clean and polish your pins before reinstalling them. Use the Allen end on your factory belt tool to unscrew the Allen bolts holding the clutch flyweight together. Remove the weight and place the Ibexx weight in its place. On this application, we are replacing the longer low altitude bolts with the shorter high altitude bolts. These bolts require a T25 Torx. Once the weight is together, you can place the magnets in the weight. You can give us a call or look at the recommendations in the instructions for magnet placement. In the stock 850s, we run the weights without magnets and around clicker 3 for 8,000 to 10,000 feet. Tap in the clutch pin to get it started. Start the flyweight bolt with your fingers, making sure to not cross-thread it. Then, using a T25 Torx, screw it in. This will pull the pin in and you will feel it bottom out. Torque to factory specs. We recommend you inspect the rollers on the Spider to make sure they roll smoothly. If they do not, extract them, clean them, and grease them. You extract them the same way as you extract the flyweight pins. If your clutch is used, we recommend you clean it thoroughly at this time as well. Reinstall the Spider. Place the clutch on the spring compression tool. Place the new primary spring from your kit, the spring cover, and the snap ring into the clutch. Compress the spring until you can put the snap ring in place. Unscrew the compression tool and remove the clutch from it. Place the primary clutch cover back on the clutch and using a T40 Torx, screw in the 6 bolts that hold the cap on. Torque the bolts to factory spec. Now line up the 2 sheaves of the primary clutch. The circle on the front half will line up with the line on the back half. These 2 markings need to line up as this will put the clutch into balance as set from the factory. Be sure to keep the clutch from spinning so it does not go out of alignment while installing. Inside the clutch, there is a flat spot that aligns with a flat spot on the PTO shaft. These 2 spots need to line up for the clutch to go on smoothly. Install the primary clutch, making sure the flat spots line up. Then install the clutch bolt and torque to factory specs. Place the factory belt tool in so you can install the belt. Be sure the text on the belt is readable and not backwards. This will ensure that you always place the belt on correctly. After installing the belt, remove the belt tool. Thread the belt out to the edge of the secondary clutch. Now reset the belt deflection where the belt is as tight as possible without squealing. Clockwise rotation of the deflection tool will tighten the belt, and counterclockwise will loosen the belt. A tight belt will give you the best performance on the bottom end. The last step is to tighten up the belt deflection tool.